Hey everybody, Chad Westport here, and I am here real quick to talk about humidity and flowering. I just had an excellent question on Instagram, and as I was going through just kind of giving my answer, I thought, you know what, this would actually make a good quick video. So the main thing this person had was problems controlling their humidity. They said 58 to 60%, that's the best they could do. They can't get it to go any lower in their grow tent, and they were in day 30 of flower. Now, there's a few things to say about that. Let's cover current thought. Okay, so the current thought for flower is, you want to reduce your humidity levels as you progress into flower, which makes sense because the buds get bigger, the buds carry more water weight, and it can get, a little warm in these microclimates inside of the canopy or leaves overlapping other leaves and transpiring and leaving the drops of water on the leaves. You ever see that? Those are real concerns. So that's one of the reasons why you want to drop your humidity, because you don't want mold or PM ruining your flower after you've gotten this far. So 45% is kind of the current thought. Now, when this person said they had 60%, again, there's a few variables and I'll go over the variables at the end. But when they said 60%, I said, you know what? You really don't have to worry too much about that. First of all, everybody agrees when you're trying to dry and cure your flower, you're hang drying, your goal is 60% humidity. So if 60% was such a danger zone, why are we drying our cannabis at 60%? So that's just one food for thought. Another food for thought, which is where I attribute most of this to, that 45%, is this is old technology, old thoughts, old ways of doing it, which is fine. A lot of old ways work. That's how things get old. You keep using them. But think about the genetics when this kind of knowledge was being shared. Genetics back then were known for growing, big old baby arms, big old donkey D's, massive colas. Those massive colas are more susceptible to bud rot and PM, all those molds, compared to some of these cultivars of today that are more like little golf balls here, little spears there. It's not that massive, long, dense, moist cola. So the old thought was 45%, the old genetics, yeah, you could kind of see more why they would say that. Today's genetics, also taking into the fact that that's what we dry at, 60%, I said I wasn't too worried about it. Now, those variables that I mentioned, one is always going to be your genetics. Some genetics are more prone to picking up PM and molds than others. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I can't grow outside on the west side of the mountains because the rain comes too early. Wet, damp, mold, bad news. But there are people who manage to do it. Dutch Blooms, he's got genetics that do great in this area. So there are some cultivars that are more resistant to PM than others. So maybe you just have ones that are more susceptible. Maybe you have ones that are rock solid. The thing is, those spores are always in the air. There's no such thing as a perfectly clean room when we're talking about tents and home growing. So you need to manage the variables. And again, genetics being one of them. Another is your airflow. Make sure you have good airflow within the tent. Get something moving above the canopy, get something moving below the canopy, and obviously something within the canopy. You could accomplish that with two different fans. Airflow within the tent is important because those spores, they just need to land, kind of settle in, chill out, go into the plant tissue, and well, then you've got a problem. Another thing you want to do is avoid swings, with lights on, super warm in there, your humidity drops to 43%, boom, lights off, spikes all the way up to 72. You want to avoid those wild swings, especially in short periods of time. Those are things that can kind of contribute to additional PM, molds type of things in your tent. Okay. If you're in a small tent like this person was, like 2x2s are very hard to control, especially the more biomass you have, the more leaves you have, the more they transpire, the more humidity you're going to have. If you're in a living soil system, that soil needs to stay wetter, more humidity you're going to have. These are things you need to think of when you're setting up your system or the size of the tent. But the point of that was control the lung room. That is one of the best things you can do, is try to control the humidity and temperature in your lung room. That will help with the conditions inside of the tent, particularly if you're drawing air in from that room and exhausting air out to a place other than that room. So that helps. You can also, I have done this recently too, because again, that swing, you want to avoid it. With my lights off, I was getting kind of a spike in the evening, and I put a little small dehumidifier unit in the tent. Now it doesn't do much. It gives me maybe 3 or 4 percentage points. Well, actually, no, it gives me a little more than that, but it's not a miracle. So don't rely on that as your main source of dehumidification. I control the lung room, but I also put something small in the tent for the lights out. But the whole point of this video, the whole point of this recording was to say, you know what? If you meet those criteria as far as the variables, 60% isn't that bad when you're flowering for relative humidity, especially if you're growing today's genetics that aren't, the big old donkeys of a cola. So that's my thought. That's what I advise this person. Tell me in the comments if you think I'm crazy. Tell me if you think, hey, some of your reasoning is spot on. But that's my opinion, and I'm kind of sticking to it. But I'm always open to learning and hearing more. So thank you guys for sharing with me in the comments. I love reading them. And I guess I should throw out my stuff. YouTube, you're already here, but it's Chad Westport. You could go to chadwestport.com, which is my website that eventually I will update. I got the front page up, but I will update the other tabs eventually, working on it. And Instagram, that's probably the best place to find pictures and news of what I'm up to, chad.westport. So that's the deal. Right on. Party time, everybody. Till the next one. Party on.